Hi, this is Primary Cinema. Today, let's talk about film adaptations. When adapting a film from another medium, there are many creative decisions that must be made, such as would the adaptation be faithful, or loose, reverent, or satirical? Both of these dilemmas could warrant their own videos, but today I'd like to talk about an underrepresented aspect of film adaptations. That is, the battle between mediated and hypermediated adaptations. First, let's define what I'm talking about. When I say hypermediated films, I'm referring to those films which purposely expose the seams of adaptation and draw attention to the new and old media. Probably the most explicit example of this can be found in the fittingly titled Adaptation. Writer Charlie Kaufman was originally tasked with adapting the non-fiction book The Orchard Thief into a script, but after struggling with a case of writer's block, Kaufman instead handed in a deeply meta and postmodern screenplay, starring a fictionalized version of himself, labouring to adapt said book for the screen. Another example would be Terry Gilliam's long-gestated film, The Man Who Killed Don Quixote. The movie is loosely based on the original Don Quixote tale, but his version exists in a modern world where that book already exists. A good description of what an immediated film looks like can be found in Boter and Grusin's, the academics who first defined these terms in their landmark book Remediation, analysis of the 1990s trend of adapting classic Jane Austen novels to film. They say the films are historically accurate in costume and setting and very faithful to the original novels, yet they do not contain any overt references to the novels on which they are based. They certainly do not acknowledge that they are adaptations. Acknowledging the novel in the film would disrupt the continuity and illusion of immediacy that Austen's readers expect, for they want to view the film in the same seamless way in which they read the novels. What I love about Greta Gerwig's Little Women film, and low-key why she absolutely should have won Best Adapted Screenplay, is that it does acknowledge it's an adaptation. Not in as overt a way as Kaufman's or Gilliam's films, but in a much more restrained manner. Here it is. An innocent title card, but its presence is crucial. First, note how it's a lovingly recreated replica of Little Women's original cover from 1868. Next, consider what it means to have Louisa May Alcott's name front and centre, presented well before the names of the director, producers, and actresses. It serves as an upfront admission that what we are about to watch is an adaptation of a much revered novel. Gerwig is paying tribute to the book itself and its author, acknowledging their importance while also laying the track for her to make major changes to the story, such as jumbling the book's timeline and departing from the original ending. That's it for explicit references to the text itself, but there's much more to be found in Gerwig's decision to characterize Jo March as a stand-in for her own creator. First, the March household depicted in the film is a faux-scale replica of Alcott's real-life family home. In fact, the film was mostly shot in and around Concord, Massachusetts, where Alcott lived. This marks a departure from previous adaptations which were mainly shot on sound stages, and lends the film an air of verisimilitude. Jo is shown to be ambidextrous, a trait shared with Alcott, and the Alcott's family's writings were mined for inspiration. This quote, delivered by Marmee, is directly lifted from Alcott's mother's journal.
There are some natures too noble to curb and too lofty to bend.
Even the publisher Jo negotiates with in the film is the same as the book's real-life original publisher. And it is in these scenes where the Jo-Alcott connection is most clear. She's given the same advice as Alcott, who herself remained unmarried, was when writing Little Women. Have the main character marry by the end of the book. Jo at first refuses. Just as Alcott did, she wanted Jo to be strong and independent, not have her work tied to the man she married. But just as happens in the film, she was offered more money and could retain her copyright, so she agreed. In Gerwig's film, it is left unclear if Jo marries. An emotionally heightened chase sequence takes place, which sees Jo declare her love for Professor Bhaer, but the cut to her book being printed leaves it debatable whether what we saw was Jo's happy ending or just her book's. This change, towards an ending Alcott likely would have preferred, makes this remediation an example of what Leitch terms literalizations, which he describes as adaptations which celebrate not so much cinema's essential visual properties as its contemporary freedom from earlier norms of censorship and decorum. The film's most transcendent moment comes just near the end. Long after we've forgotten about the non-diegetic title card, Jo watches with pride as her work is printed, bound, and then revealed. The same cover, the same title, but a different author. As Dana Stevens notes in her Slate.com review, this scene turns the film into a poioumenon, the rhetorical term for a work of art that tells the story of its own making. But rather than simply being a movie about making a movie, Gerwig has turned her film into a thinly veiled biography of, and full-throated tribute to, Louisa May Alcott. Overall, Gerwig's hypermediated approach, consisting of numerous meta and extra-textual references, allows it to have a much deeper dialogue with the original text. Its postmodern attitude breathes new life into the story, reinventing it for a new generation. On a press tour promoting the film, Gerwig was quoted as saying, "As a child, my hero was Jo March, but as an adult, it's Louisa May Alcott. Her Little Women succeeds in honouring both." Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please consider liking and subscribing to Primary Cinema for more. If you're a Greta Gerwig fan, you may also like my video on the importance of inanimate objects in the films of Mike Mills, including 20th Century Women. And I've got some videos in the works I'm really excited about. Thanks again.